Brooksaw Antiques here. Today I'm going to restore this 1917 Royal 10. Please bear with me, this is sped up quite a bit. First thing I'm doing is replacing the feet with these 3D printed foot mounts available in my shop with the link below. Then I'm going to start taking out the spools and the panels. All panels are coming off next, just so I can get inside and clean some of that rust and dust out of there. The front panel has 4 screws and the back panel's got 3 screws each. Now I'm going to remove the platen. Very disastrous platen on this one. And then that is the paper bed coming out with the rollers. And I will be replacing those rollers with 3D printed rollers that I have available in my shop too. That is the under brace. And I removed that to take out the glass panels. And it's got 2 brackets on the inside that hold those in, and 1 screw on the outside to release that top bracket. Now if you look on the right shift, it's missing. So what I'm doing is I'm robbing a shift from this old machine, and the shifter actually it's connected on both sides, so you have to remove the entire shift mechanism in order to replace it. It's not an easy job. This was a very tough job, and you can see me, this is the first time I've done it. You can see me struggling quite a bit. Even though this is sped up 16 times, I still am having trouble getting the old one out and the new one in. I eventually figured it out and got it on. It worked good. Now I'm getting some of that rust off the carriage, and at this point I'm deciding whether it's worthwhile to take the whole carriage off so I can get inside there. And at the time I didn't think it was necessary because the carriage was moving pretty good. And then when I tried to take off those carriage riders, they were stuck on there pretty good. So I said, okay, well, I'll just work my way in there with the carriage on, because the escapement was having issues. It wasn't moving. So I went in there and oiled it up and tried to get it moving, and it was starting to move a little bit, but it was just too rusty. So after trying to get it going for several minutes, I eventually gave in and decided to take the carriage completely off. And that's me right there adjusting the escapement a little bit to try to get it to go, but still not good enough. And there we go. I finally get those carriage riders off. They needed a lot of torque to get off. They were just completely stuck in there. And then I get the carriage off, and I'm able to clean it out and get access to the escapement. And it was still having issues. It was almost to the point where I was going to give up on the machine. Then I decided I was going to completely remove the escapement and replace it with another one that I robbed. And when I put it in, it wasn't working good. It wasn't that hard to swap it out, but when I got the new one in, it was just slightly different, so it didn't work. It was off axis, so it didn't even connect right. So what I did was I cleaned out the old one and put it in, and eventually I got that going to good enough, and actually it started to work very good. And now it's got very good movement. Once you see the end of the video, you'll see that the escapement is perfectly fine. It just had some rust and just needed to be cleaned out. So worked out good. And as you can see, I'm still working on it. So that was another major project on this typewriter besides the shift. And by the way, I don't recommend trying to go in there and change the shifter. The escapement's a little easier. I don't know how easy it is without removing the carriage, but I think that it's possible. I don't know. I usually try to remove that carriage. If those screws aren't stuck in there, then I can remove the carriage pretty easily and be comfortable taking that off and putting it back on. Now I'm getting the rust off of the key bars. It's very typical to get one of these old that's been sitting around for a long time, and all those keys are rusty. So I go in with a Dremel tool with a wire brush and get both sides of every key, and then I go oil them up and basically everything that was moving on this typewriter was pretty seized up with rust. So I had to do a lot of work on getting that freed up, and now I'm getting the actual key tops cleaned up, and they actually cleaned up really nice. They look really white and chrome. And just doing some touch ups here where I'm just knocking off some rust and wiping it down and blowing it out and making sure everything moves right. I did have an issue with the vibrator. It was just a little bent out of place, so I bent it back and it worked good. Now I'm creating the drawband with some thread that I got from Walmart and the original hooks, and putting back on that front panel after cleaning it up a little bit. Now I'm cleaning up the top panels, putting those on. Those are easy to remove. You just got to make sure you put your screws back in after you take it off so you know where they go. And when I put the drawband on, it broke, so I had to redo it. Not a big deal. So now the drawband's attached, and I'm putting on the ribbon. And well, the drawband needed to dry. I had super glue on it, so I just reattached it. And now I'm putting I had to take that panel off so I can access something else that was not working properly. I think it was the margin release or something. So I had to remove those panels to get back in there. And I took off this, which is the margin block, when I was doing the shifter. So now I'm putting it back on, that's an easy install. It just goes in through the sides. And I think I put the wrong screws in, so I have to go back and do that. So there's just so many screws when you're doing this. You really have to keep track of them, or else you're just going to make your life go a lot longer. This job's going to be a lot longer if you don't know exactly what screws you're working with and where they go. Now I'm putting in the glass panels, and it makes it look really clean when you take those off and clean them out with Windex, both sides, and put it back in. It just makes the whole machine look really good. And now the ribbon's on, and I'm getting the paper and the type sample ready. And now I'm cleaning out the actual typeface, which is there was gunk in there, so I got that cleaned out. The bottom brace back in, and I think that's it. Now it's all done. It's very pretty, and it works perfectly fine. So I'm really proud of this model. Now available on eBay or Etsy. Search Brooksaw Antiques.